Good morning, boys and girls and mums and dads, and welcome to our baking session. This morning we're going to have a go at making pizza, and this is by special request from my niece Stephanie, who absolutely loves pizza. So to do your pizza is really simple. You will need 200 grams of strong plain flour. Now that's the sort that you use for bread making. So 200 grams of strong plain flour in my bowl, and then I've got here 7 grams of fast action yeast. So we're going to put that in as well. I then put in half a teaspoon of salt. Okay, so a little half teaspoon of salt. The next thing you need to do is have 140 mils of warm water. And what we're going to do is make a well in the centre. So we can just mix those dry ingredients together and then make a well. So that's a little hole in the middle. And we're going to tip the water into there, a little bit at a time. Give it a stir around. I'm going to gradually add this water in. You will need it all. The idea is to make a sticky sort of dough. So I'm going to stir it around now. And it should begin to come away from the sides of the bowl, as you can see with mine. Okay. So what we're going to do now, once we've got the dough together, we're going to tip it out onto a work surface and we're going to knead it. So you need to make sure your surface is well floured. Spread some flour out over where I'm going to be working, and I'm going to tip this dough out onto there. It's so easy, this recipe, much cheaper to make your own pizza than going out and buying one, and this tiny little ball of dough here will actually make us 2 pizzas, 2 big-sized pizzas. So I'm going to, you can see it's quite sticky, it's sticking to my hand, but we keep rolling it and turning it in the flour and it will begin to lose the stickiness and begin to get quite elasticy and springy. I'll show you what I mean in a minute, but you need to just keep turning and rolling. So use the heel of your hand, this part of your hand here, and push it into the dough, push it away from you and keep turning it. If it still feels too sticky, you can always put a little bit more flour out on your board, but mine seems to be working quite nicely. Okay, nearly there. Now, this is about there now. So if you look at this dough, it's quite springy now. If you press it down, it begins to fill the hole up again. So it's quite springy and elasticy. It begins to feel quite smooth. little tiny bit more flour here. Right, okay, so there we have it. So that little ball here is going to make us 2 great big pizzas. So what we're going to do is split it now, split it into 2 small balls, and we need to let this dough rest now. So I'm going to put it, each little ball, onto an oiled baking sheet. Okay, so I've got one here. I'm going to put this ball right on top of the baking sheet like this. And another one there. And now what I'm going to do is just put a tiny little bit of oil just over the top to stop it from drying out. So a little bit of oil there. And then we're going to cover it with cling film and leave it for 15 minutes at room temperature. Okay, there we go. Okay, now the pizza has been resting for 15 minutes. What we're going to do now is take the cling film off, and I'm just going to demonstrate what to do now with one pizza, but remember you have got 2 balls of dough. So what we need to do now, you can use your fingers to do this, and we're going to stretch out the dough across the board. So just stretching it out, as you can see. We're going to try and stretch this dough out with our fingers so that it's about 25 centimetres in diameter. So I'm just going to keep working out from the middle. Remember, this board has been oiled, so that will help it to stop sticking when it comes out of the oven later. So you can see it's, because it's rested for 15 minutes, it's now able to stretch out without shrinking back in. And then around the rim, just going to sort of lift it up a little bit. This will help to stop all of your filling from dripping off in your oven. Okay, now in this little jug here, I've got 150 mils of passata, and I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of oil. But remember that this is the topping for the 2 pizzas, so don't attempt to put all of this tomato on top of one pizza. Now this oil I'm using is extra virgin olive oil. I think it's got the nicest flavour for pizzas. Okay, so we've got 4 tablespoons of oil. I'm going to mix that into the passata. And this is where the fun starts. And having 2 pizzas at once is good, because if you've got different members of the family who like different things, you can design your own pizza toppings. So what I'm going to do now is put my passata on the top of my pizza. So I'm just going to use about 4 tablespoons of that and spread it around right up close to the edges. And then I've got lots of different toppings here, but you can just use whatever favourite things you have. Obviously we need to have some cheese. Can't have a pizza without lots of nice yummy cheese, so I've got some mozzarella here. I've got 2 balls of mozzarella because I'm going to do the 2 pizzas, and I've chopped it up into little cubes. I've also got a selection of some smoked ham, some black olives, some little basil leaves, chopped mushrooms, and the little cherry tomatoes. And because I really do like my cheese, I've got some gorgonzola Italian cheese here. So what I'm going to do now is put half of my mozzarella over the top. Sprinkle that over. I'm going to put some ham on this pizza. Spread my strips. I've made it into little strips, the ham. So I'm going to spread that a little bit over there. And I think I'll have some gorgonzola on this one. Go for a real nice cheesy topping. Okay, so that's that one. And there we have it. Now, my oven has been heated up to 200 degrees centigrade for a fan oven. That's 220 degrees centigrade if yours is not a fan, or gas mark 7 if you're running on gas. And these pizzas then will need to go in the oven for between 12 and 15 minutes until they're bubbling hot and crispy. So what we need to do to finish the pizzas now they're both decorated is put a little bit of grinding of salt and pepper over the top of each one. That's one. And two. My oven's hot enough now, we've reached the temperature, so I'm going to put both pizzas into the oven now. And they will stay in the oven for between 12 and 15 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, and now let's see how the pizzas have turned out. Put that one just up there. So, here's the pizza. I'm going to start putting a little bit of decoration on now. I like to have a little bit of parmesan over the top. And final flourish of a little basil leaf. There we go. It's as simple as that. And these pizzas are really filling and much more fun than buying that frozen pizza from the supermarket. Enjoy.